Okay, so we're 2 minutes into this here, and I'm going to go ahead and get started right now. So let me share my screen. It sounds like you're hearing me because I'm getting the engagement in the chat, but as I share my screen here, if you would not mind, go ahead and put a 2 in the chat if you can see my screen. Just want to make sure everybody sees that. Okay, perfect, perfect. And there will be a time for questions. You can post those questions in the chat at any time. I'm here to answer your questions now during the live presentation, or I will stay at the end if you have any specific questions relating to your business. So without waiting any longer, we're going to go ahead and get started. So again, my name is Sean McMeen. I'm the founder of Vinnie Restoration Marketing, and today's webinar is going to be about your 2025 roadmap for getting more water, mold, fire, and restoration jobs for your business. And so we're going to cover all of those strategies today. We're also going to talk about some of the most common issues we see in the industry. We've been doing this for over 8 years now, and things have changed a lot over the years. And so we're going to talk about what is working into 2025. Along with those 3 key successes, we're going to talk about some setting of goals for your business, and then develop an action plan at the end. So whether you can work with somebody on your team, you do it yourself, or you go out and try to find somebody to help you. You'll have some focus areas to work on. So at any point, feel free to go ahead and put that question out there, or post that question in the chat. If you wouldn't mind, for the next 30 minutes or so, please just give me a little bit of attention here. And I know you guys are in an emergency service business. You got to jump. Totally understand that. Ideally, it says 60 minutes here, but it's probably going to be about 30 to 40 minutes. And you will have access to the slides and a replay for this, along with some assets that you can download and use for your business. Okay, so there's you're going to get access to a book that I wrote about how to do just a lot of things that we're going to talk about today. You're going to get some checklists that we're going to help you work through the process, along with there's a whole lot of other webinars that we have done over the last year and going to continue to do into 2025. We're just sharing information. I'm a business owner myself, and ultimately I know what's important is you just need to have some idea of a roadmap you need to go and where you need to focus on. And so I really want to make sure that you get a lot out of that. This webinar is not about me, but I just want to give you some context here. As I said before, we've been in this industry for a long time, and we have helped a lot of restoration companies across the country. Right now, we have around 52 clients across the country that we are helping on a daily, monthly basis. And we have lots of experience within our team, and we see a lot of different scenarios that pop up. And so I'm just going to share with you our blueprint. There's no holding back here. So I'm an open book, and if you ever have any questions, you can always reach out to me. The reason why I got in the restoration industry was it was kind of by accident, but to be honest, I was impacted by 2 big events in my life. When I was 6, 7 years old, 2 days after my birthday, our house got struck by lightning and burned down. I still remember those flames coming out of the house, and being that young kid, it had an impact on my life, but I also had a home that was flooded. And so being in the marketing industry, I was able to develop some relationships with some restoration companies, and that's how I got into this industry. So I know how it is to be a homeowner, and we know I train my team how to speak and talk to the homeowners when we do the marketing for the companies that we work for. And that's where my passion comes from, because I've been directly impacted by how you help people, right? So my goal in this year is to really was 2024 was to help 50 restoration contractors, and we accomplished that. And so going into this next year, that goal is going to change to 100. So our goal is to help 100 restoration contractors across the country, whether we work with you directly or you get some knowledge out of this, and you just say one day you ping me and say, hey, I got some information from you that helped me grow my business. That is an impact that I really have a passion to make sure we're doing. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into the information here. Some of the common issues we see in the industry, and maybe this is different for you, maybe you haven't experienced it yet, but there's clearly a lot of competition out there, right? Everybody wants those water mitigation jobs. Not everybody wants to do the rebuilds because those can get complicated. But there's tons of competition, whether it's a franchise, whether it's an independent, whether it's a lead generation company, like we all know those guys out there, right? There's lots of competition, right? And so lots of cost related to getting the phone to ring. And so nobody has a blank check, and we just want to make sure we have the best strategy that's going to get that phone to ring so we can get a return on investment, right? And ultimately in this industry, there are highs and lows, there's ups and downs. And so you want to make sure you have a strategy that has multiple fishing poles in the water so that you don't rely on just TPA work or just referrals or just online marketing. Today's focus is going to be on the online marketing side of things, but our most successful clients have a multi-pronged strategy that they're using, right? And so we're going to give you that strategy that works online. And to be honest, the harsh reality of the industry is that 10% of the companies out there are getting about 90% of the jobs. A lot of that has to do with they just have more resources, or they have a plan in place in order to get that visibility, branding, and reputation that they need. And so I'm going to try to give you that blueprint so that you can get yourself into that position. And this is where we see most of the clients that come to us and they need help. So in the bottom left-hand corner, I think we all are in this industry because we want to help people, and obviously we want to make money, right? But you can provide the best service anywhere, but if no one knows you exist, then you don't have the opportunity to help them. You don't have that opportunity to work with those people, right? And so there's a couple ways to approach it. You can rely on referrals, you can rely on pay per lead, and that's a great way to get started without a lot of investment or knowledge, right? You can utilize those resources. But what you ultimately want to try to do is, most people that I talk to are trying to grow a business, whether they're going to sell that business in the future or whether they're going to pass it on to their family. They want to be, in order to do that, you've got to become the best known company in your area. So when somebody does pick up that phone and do a search for your services or the services that you provide in your area, you actually show up. Your company's actually showing up. And so what we're trying to do here is get you to become the best known company in your area. So there's a lot of terminology that's floating around there. SEM, pay-per-click, social media, Google Maps, AI is a big buzzword right now. ChatGPT, all these sorts of things. Google LSA and Google Guaranteed. A lot of buzzwords that are out there, and I'm sure if you're like any other business owner, even a marketing agency gets hammered by people wanting to do business with me, right? And they come up and they say, hey, these are the things you need to focus on, or these are the things you need to do. And I can tell you right now that working with so many clients, it's all about visibility in our industry, right? We've got to be able to show up when people need our services, right? And so we're going to talk about these three main aspects: visibility, what goes into that, what goes into branding, and what goes into reputation. And ultimately, this will get you more revenue. This will get the phone ringing, okay? So as we continue on here, we all know that there's three main sources of where homeowners or businesses can go to for help when a disaster happens, right? They can call the plumber because they got an emergency. They don't know how to shut off the water. They don't know how to deal with that. They can call their insurance company because they've actually addressed the immediate issue, right? Or they can pick up the phone that, like the average homeowner does, and they search for a problem that they have. They're not going out there searching for a water damage restoration company, because the vast majority of homeowners don't know of the service until they actually get impacted, right? And so what we want to make sure we're doing is we're showing up for the common issues in your area that people need help with, okay? And so that's where the visibility strategy comes into play. So if somebody was to go out there and search for a water restoration company because they know they need to work with one, ultimately Google has a couple options here. They want to match that searcher with a company that they feel can help them. And how does Google do that, right? Google is a billion-dollar company that that wants to keep those searchers coming back. How do they know how to match your company to that searcher? Ultimately, what it has to do about is what you say about your company and what other people say about your company. Okay, and there's lots of different variables that come into play about that. But ultimately, those are the two things that we have to solve for in order to clear up those signals so that everybody, that Google knows that they can recommend your company. Okay, so we're going to dive into what that looks like. As I said before, visibility, branding, and reputation, you're going to have a slide deck here. There's multiple components in that, and we're going to dive into to a case study here. Okay, so I apologize. Give me 1 second here. I forgot to plug in the cord on my phone here, and I just got a warning that my battery is going to go. So love technology here. 1 second. Love it. Okay. Uh, Funny story. My kids had e-learning today, and 30 minutes before this, I was helping them out. So now we're good to go. All right. Hopefully, everybody got a good laugh on that one. All right. So, case study. This is a Google visibility map here that looks at a specific client of ours that started with us, and their visibility was on the left-hand side there. And a few months of working with us, their visibility is on the right-hand side. So what this shows is GPS coordinates around a specific area, and do they show up for water damage restoration services in that area? Ultimately, if you can solve this issue, if you can solve this issue of visibility, you're going to get phone calls. You're going to get opportunities. You're not going to close all the deals because you can't control who the searcher is on the back end. You just need to get the volume in order to be able to get there, right? And so this is one case study. Another case study is this one here, where you can see the visibility increase on this one. Again, these are all different dots here on GPS coordinates, and it's just looking to see the visibility score. I can run a report for anybody on this webinar if you'd like to see that for your company. At the end of the call, at the end of the webinar here, you're going to have a link where you can register for that session, and I'll give you your visibility score on that session. So those strategies that we're going to talk about visibility helped us move those helped us move those results to that situation where they actually had visibility. Jason had a question. How long do these types of results take? The honest answer is it depends on your specific situation. If you're starting brand new, it takes longer because you have to increase that trust from Google in order to beat out the competitors in your area. And if you have a strong profile now and you just don't have all the foundation in place, then it takes a shorter time. Those examples that I was showing there were about a 3 to 4 month time frame there. Is what that time frame was. Hopefully that answers your question there, Jason, but it just depends on your profile strength. So all right, so let's dive into visibility. Visibility in this industry is all about showing at the top of the page. That's ultimately what it is. And the vast majority of searchers go out on that phone and they're going to Google. They're not going to Bing usually. Some do. I'm sure there's buzzwords out there about showing up in AI and ChatGPT and all those searches. But as of today, let's stay laser focused on showing up in Google, because that's where the vast majority of the average user is going to search. And so you'll see here the 4 components that come into play here. The top is Google Guaranteed, or what's called Google Local Service Ads. The next component down below is Google Ads and pay-per-click. The next component down below is Google Business Profile or Google Maps. And then you have organic search at the bottom. What you'll notice here is that what used to be the traditional SEO, the organic section at the bottom, is less and less important nowadays, right? Because the top 2 components are the paid ads components of Google, and then you have the map section, which takes advantage of your reputation. So we're going to talk about each one of these, the pros and cons of each one of them, and what to stay away from, and what has changed dramatically over the last 12 months on each one of them. From a visibility aspect, it is so true. You still need to have a website today, right? Just because you have a website doesn't mean your phone's going to ring, because our phones would be ringing off the hook if that was the case, right? In the chat, if you wouldn't mind, put a 1 in the chat if you already have a website for your business. I'd like to just see who has a website. And if you have a website for your business, again, it doesn't mean the phone's going to ring. But what it is it's the hub of your online presence. Okay, so everybody has a website for a business. So clearly that's not the #1 key of getting the phone to ring, right? But what it does is it gives this ability to tell Google what service we provide, where we provide that service. It helps us promote our expertise and our reputation. Okay. So having a website that's set up to convert when somebody lands on that page is extremely important. So some of those aspects are, is you want to make sure that when you end this webinar, go out and pull on your phone, type in your website. Does your website on a mobile phone load fast? And can you quickly call your company if somebody visits there? If that's not the case, that's something I would change immediately. The second component you want to look at is, are there multiple ways of a company, of someone visiting that site, of contacting you? Do you have a form on your website? Do you have a phone number present as you scroll down the page? Do you have chat in there? Those are multiple ways for people to reach out to you. And the importance here is that putting all this together is going to, when somebody actually does land on that website, they're going to make a phone call from there. Okay. And so you can see a couple examples here. I've got a webinar that talks specifically about how to design your website and set it up for success. After this, you're going to get that URL, and you can watch that webinar about how to structure a website, how to set it up for conversions, and all of those aspects. Okay. So, if there's any questions on website specifically, go ahead and add them into the chat here, and I can certainly answer those questions. But really, it's all about setting up the conversion elements on there, and there's many components of that, and I dive really, really deep into that into a webinar that you can watch. Here's a general layout of how you want to have your website structured. So your phone number is usually at the top, your logo's at the top left, your phone number is at the top right. You want to have trust signals in there. You want to use your reputation. You want to talk about your certifications. You want to talk about, have your reviews present. When you go into the service pages, you want to talk about your process. You want to talk about frequently asked questions. All of these things are extremely important to clear up any of those signals of why Google should recommend your company. Okay. And so this is a general layout. Again, I go very in depth on that webinar that I'm going to share with you on the website layout, but the website is important. So the next component we're going to go over here is the Google Maps profile. So here's an example of a grid from a client that we have, and you can see anybody in their area that's searching for water damage, they're going to show up, right? Because they're showing 1, 2s, and 3s all over the place. And so what a Google Maps profile will do is ultimately it links into your website. So what you say about your website, it's linked into Google Maps. You want to make sure that Google Maps profile is optimized. So every single field they have on that profile, you need to fill out. You need to have an address on that profile. In this industry, if you have what's called a service area business, you're not set up for success. It's like going to, you're back in the day, if you played a sport and your parents actually showed up to the wrong field and the game's going on down a couple miles away, that's what it's like if you don't have an address on your profile. You're just not on the same field. You're not on the level playing field with your competition. You have to have an address on your profile. So make sure you're getting reviews to that profile, posting photos of that profile, doing social media posts to that profile, and then connecting all your social profiles into that profile as well. Jason has a question. What should your breakout be for calls coming in from Google versus people that are actually visiting your website? My experience that most people just grab the phone number and dial when they see it on Google. The vast majority of the calls that we see coming in are from Google Maps for our clients, and then Google Guaranteed. Those are the mix there. But your website comes into play because it's the hub of all the information you say about your company. Okay, so it doesn't mean you're not going to have people visiting your website and calling you, but the vast majority of calls will come from the Google Maps profile. So website is still important, but yep. No problem, Jason. So again, this is your Google Maps profile, and it's in the top half of the page. Reviews. We're going to talk about reputation in just a minute here. If you're not getting 3 to 4 reviews for your company, there are so many other competitors out there getting reviews. We're going to talk about that strategy here in just a second here, but it's an extremely important aspect. Google Guaranteed, it's also called Google Local Services Ads. This is the next important aspect of visibility. If you're not familiar with Google Guaranteed, go ahead and put a 2 in the chat here. I don't want to, if you are familiar with it, I'll go and won't go too in depth if you're not, but if you're not familiar, okay, Jason, you're not familiar. Okay. So if you, Google Guaranteed is basically a situation where you submit your certificate of insurance, your IICRC, you do a background check, and you need to have some reviews on your Google business profile. Okay. And so what you do is it's a pay-per-call situation. And you say, hey, we want to receive mold, water, sewage, those sorts of calls. And once you get this profile set up, it's honestly at the top of the page here. You can see in the screenshot, it's at the top of the page on most searches on desktop and some on mobile. And ultimately, you only pay for this when a call comes in. There's some strategies about lead disputing, budget management, ongoing optimization, all of those things. I have a webinar that I talk specifically about all of that I will share with you guys that goes really, really deep into this. But if you're not set up with Google Guaranteed, this is one of the programs we lead with because this is an effective strategy. One point to emphasize here is if you set up a Google Guaranteed profile and you don't have enough reviews on your Google Maps profile, you're going to struggle with visibility with Google Guaranteed. Okay. So if you go out and do a search in your area and you search for water restoration companies near me or water damage restoration, Chicago, and you see the profiles that are showing up there, and your review count is extremely off from where theirs are, you're going to have an uphill battle to get some results out of this. But it's not unsurmountable. I was just talking to somebody yesterday, and they had 140 reviews, their competitors, and they only had 20. The key here is on the consistency of reviews. You want to make sure you're getting 3 to 4 new reviews each month, so that way Google has a reason to trust your company and a reason to test your company on receiving those phone calls from the searches. So that's Google Guaranteed. There are other visibility aspects we're going to talk about here briefly. Google Ads or pay-per-click, and then Facebook as well. So if you've ran Google Ads, go ahead and press a 1 in the chat. I just want to kind of get an understanding of who has ran Google Ads. And if you have, many people struggle with this aspect of it. It sounds amazing. You can launch a Google Ads campaign. You can show it for keywords. And it is a very effective strategy, but it is a more expensive strategy. Okay. And so we have a number of clients that run Google Ads, and we have success with Google Ads. But the struggle with Google Ads is the costs have gotten really expensive. They have gotten over the last 12 months a lot more expensive than they used to be. And I talk to a lot of people all the time looking for PPC services. They said, oh, 2 years ago, it was great. We were getting a lot of leads coming through it. Those times have changed. It is not the lead. It's not what we start with our clients, because we have the ability to get them 10 to 20 to 30 opportunities per month without even doing pay-per-click. I'm not saying pay-per-click doesn't work. It absolutely works. It's just more expensive. And the reason why that is because in metropolitan markets and in medium-sized markets, there's just a lot of competitors out there that are willing to spend $10, $15, $20,000 in pay-per-click per month. And if you have a budget that's 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000, you just don't get enough clicks to convert those to phone calls. Okay. And so if you have not set up Google Guaranteed and you're not doing some SEO on your website and your Google Maps section, I would lead with those. Pay-per-click, again, does work. It's just more expensive. That's just the reality of the industry right now. Not only from the competitors, but also from the lead generation guys out there that are out there advertising for your company name and other company names. And they then resell those leads to companies like us, right? So with Google Ads, the effective strategy that works well here is setting up to a situation where you have geo-specific campaigns, and these are like service related with a location name on there. There's other strategies that you can use to advertise for keywords related to your competitors. I'm not going to go in depth too much with that, but you can probably get an idea of what I'm talking about there. You want to have a mobile-friendly landing page. for them to click on. So think about your website. You probably have a lot of menu items on there at the top of the page. Make it super simple. So when they hit that page, they know how to call you. They know what kind of things you help them with. The other thing I would recommend is have a tracking number in place. The tracking number allows you to track how many calls are specifically coming from pay-per-click. All right. And then there's a couple different click fraud softwares out there. One that we like is ClickSees. You can pay like $100 a month for that, and it helps you prevent fraud on the clicks. And think about it, a homeowner looking for an emergency, they're not going to search multiple times. They're going to search once, and then they're going to click on the one that makes more sense at the top. And then you don't want to show them your ad again, because there's no point in that, right? They're going to make that phone call from that. So we want to block that off, block the competitors that could be clicking on your ads as well. So again, I just want to say that PPC absolutely does work, but just keep in mind, it's not like it used to be. It's very expensive and it can be very effective, but it's not what I lead with on that. So if you have any questions on PPC, definitely put those in the chat there. Facebook ads. Facebook ads is a situation that's used for branding purposes mainly. Brand awareness campaigns is what this is for. If you're doing some mold and mold testing and those things like that, it can be effective with that. Depending on the year, depending on the month of the year, it can be effective. But really what this is for is to give brand signals, brand awareness within your area that you can help this company out, or that your company can help people in the area out, right? So you want to get your name out there more. You want people to see your trucks and those sorts of things. That's the main thing I would focus on for Facebook ads. Brand awareness. It's not a high lead generation sort of effort, because people just don't go to social media if they have an emergency. They're going to pull up their phone and do a Google search. So that's for Facebook ads. Let's dive into the branding aspects of things. Okay, what can you do to build a strong brand for your company? Now, a little context here about branding. When people think about marketing and branding and all that stuff, I think some people are like, oh yeah, I have a logo, I have a website, that's my branding. That's not what Google's looking for. What they're looking for is these three acronyms here. They actually have it in their patents. They're looking for expertise, experience, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. Okay. And what this means is, if you can show Google that you have experience, you talk about your experience, you have your expertise, you're a person or you're a company that's talking about it and not just in general terms, and you have a reputation or trustworthiness because other people are recommending your company, you create a lot of positivity on Google and give Google the ability to recommend your company to those searchers then, okay? And that's what this is really about from a branding aspect. Branding involves creating content. So helpful blog articles about the common reasons why people call you, right? So if you're in San Diego, you're not posting things on your website about frozen pipes, but you're posting about flooding from, weather events, or you're posting about slab water damage, or you're posting about broken pipes in your home or overflows and all those sorts of things. But if you're in Florida, you're going to be posting about hurricane preparedness and all of those sorts of things. If you're up in Boston, you're going to be talking about frozen pipes, ice dams, all of those sorts of things. And it's not just about weather, but you're going to be talking about things that the common person is searching for solutions about. And that's what helpful content is about. You also want to talk about case studies or before and after jobs that you've completed, and show proof of, hey, this was before, this was after, and this is where it took place. So you can show Google that you provide a service in a specific area. You want to have a service page for every single one of your every single one of the services that you provide. You also want to have location pages. So let's say somebody said they were in Chicago. And if you're in Chicago, think about how many suburbs are in Chicago, right? And you probably service a lot of those. So on your main part of your website, maybe you talk about Chicago water damage restoration services, but then you want to say, hey, we also do services in Naperville or Des Plaines or all of those other places, right? And so you have separate pages that talk about the services you provide in those areas. Hopefully that makes sense from a content perspective. It also involves creating backlinks and citations and all of those sorts of things to bring all of that together. So if you're not doing helpful content on your website, I highly recommend start with one piece per month and talk about a common reason why people call you and why you help people, and that's a great way to start. Okay. Videos are a situation that you want to create a video about every service that you provide. These don't have to be professionally done. You don't have to go hire a videographer and do all that. You can just talk on your phone, make sure it's horizontal, and you talk real to people. Do a video about why you're different and why you should work with your company. Do a video about the culture of your company. All of those sorts of things you can apply to a YouTube channel and then embed that into your website and share it across all your social media channels. This is a branding play. Google wants to know that you have other things going on from your brand, so that you can strengthen that brand. And the reason why brand is so important for Google is because there's so many spam listings in the water damage space that they're trying to figure out who to trust, right? And those people that are throwing up spam listings and doing just lead generation, they're not going this extra mile. And these are the signals that Google's looking for. Okay. So as far as social media, think of social media as sort of that spider web tying it all together. Again, social media, you're not going to get a bunch of phone calls for water damage or mold or fire. What you're going to do is it helps build trust within your community, and you share your services, you share your reputation, your reviews, all of those sorts of things across social media that then link back to your website, link back to your Google Maps profile. And what will happen is people will search online for a company for help. They'll make that phone call, but you can bet they're going to go search your company and see the reviews for your company. So here's a test you can do. Go out there after this webinar, search for your company name, specifically what your company name is on Google Maps. What shows up? Do your social profiles show up? And if you click on those social profiles, would you do business with yourself? Would you do business with that company based on what you see when you do a search for your company? Just do a test for yourself, okay? And social media is really, you don't have to do a ton of posts, a couple posts per week, talking about your brand, your services, reviews, your case studies, and don't just post an image or a video without a link. The only profile that you really can't post a link on is Instagram, but all the other profiles you can, if you're talking about water damage, post a link to that water damage page. If you're posting it on Instagram, post a link on that Instagram profile to what you talked about. Also, don't forget to post the basics of your company, the company name and your phone number on those profiles. Okay. So that's really what social media is about, sort of that glue to stick it all together. Okay. Let's dive into reputation here. I know we are about 35 minutes into this. Again, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat here. But I'm saving the best for last here because it is critically important. None of that stuff that I talked about before this point works if you can't back it up with a solid reputation. Okay. This is called basically the Amazon effect. How many people have actually gone out to Amazon and purchased a product that had 0 reviews on it? Very, very few, right? If your review score is not above 4.6, 4.7, you're going to struggle in the water damage space. If you don't have reviews coming in consistently, you're going to struggle in that in this space. Okay. And so what we want to talk about reputation is that this is a survey that I've done at the end of last year. Okay. I think it was October, November timeframe. I went out and looked at the 300 major competitors. These are 3 different competitors, very large competitors. I'm not going to say their names, very large competitors. And this is the average reviews that they had on their Google Maps profile. So the competitor number 1, you had 99. 2, you had 42 and 41 and 42. If your profile is not up to this average amount, and you're not able to generate, you're going to struggle. You're really going to struggle. So let's talk about how we can get those reviews coming in. Okay. Here's the average rating of those competitors, of the 300 competitors we looked at. It was just a random sampling out there. Okay. Here's the rating for them: 4.75, 4.64, 4.74 on that one. Okay. And so we want to make sure that we're on a level playing field, and that's really what's most important. So obviously you need to provide an amazing service for your clients. You need to have community involvement. You need to ask for those reviews, and you need to promote those reviews. All right. So where do I get reviews from? Number one, most important is Google. But how many times have you asked for a Google review? They said they did it and it didn't show up. It happens. Don't let it discourage you. Other times people say they're going to submit a review and they didn't. It happens. Keep moving on, keep charging forward. I always tell our clients the most important thing is obviously after you finish that job, collecting a check or getting paid for that job. But B, right there, the number two option is getting that review. Okay, it's critically important, especially in this industry. If you can't get it on Google because they maybe don't know how to do it or don't have a Google profile, the second option would be Facebook or Yelp. You can actually throw in Better Business Bureau in there as well if you have a profile there. And then these four components on the bottom there, you got Home Advisors, Angie, Nextdoor, Thumbtack. Those are other elements you can look at too. But the top three are the most important. Obviously, you want to get all of your team members involved in this. It's just not the owner or the tech that's on site. It's everybody from the person answering the phone to the person cutting checks and the person in counting. It's all across the board. The best strategy here is ask your team as part of their role. They've got to get 2 reviews from people within the community or people that we work with on your profile on a monthly basis. Okay. The best way you can ask for those reviews is via text message or email. And so you can ask a couple times and phrase it in a situation where, hey, we need help from you because we want to help other homeowners or businesses just like you that are experiencing the same issue that you just had, right? If you go to them and say, hey, give us a review, they're like, sure, yeah, I'll give you a review. And then go off and do their business, take the kids to soccer and do all that stuff, right? Ask for help. People like to help people, right? That's why I do these webinars. I like to help people, right? Sure, I like to work with people and I like to make money as well, but ultimately I like to help people. And so ask in a helpful way, and you usually are going to get better results from it. Ways that you can do it outside of text messaging and email are using some sort of postcard or maybe a QR tap code. Those are options that you can use. Tap code or tap card you can tap on the customer's phone and it'll pull it right up there on their phone and submit a review that way. Okay. Do not be afraid of negative reviews. They're gonna happen. You can't make everybody happy. Okay. You can't have a 5.0 rating forever. If a negative review happens, the best thing you can do is pick up the phone and call that customer and say, how can we make this right? Right. The next thing you can do is respond to that review professionally and as professionally as possible. Let's put it that way. Don't get into back and forth and all that stuff like that, because people will look at the positive reviews and they're going to certainly look at the negative reviews on how you responded to that. So just keep that in mind. Don't be afraid of the negative reviews. But obviously, common sense tells us if it was a bad experience, you got some bad feedback, I wouldn't be asking for a review from that person. So it happens. Insurance building, rebuilds, all of those are very complex, right? So promote the reviews across social media, on your website, and if you can, do a video every couple months with a client that you've helped. Those are very impactful, and the extra mile things that you can do. If you're a 500K plus $1 million company, you're trying to get to that 2 million, right? These are extra things that just set you apart from the competitors that are out there. Okay. All right, so what we've covered so far is the most common issues, the 3 keys for setting yourself up for success in 2025. And we're going to go into the goal setting aspect of it. I just want to make sure everybody's here with me still. If you're here with me, go ahead and put a 2 in the chat. I just want to make sure you're still here with me. This is making sense. Yeah, thanks everybody for the feedback. It really is a passion of mine to this industry. Like I said, I've been impacted. I know what it is to be the homeowner, and you guys have a tremendous impact on your community and people when they're experiencing things in the worst part of their lives usually. So I lots of kudos to you. Now let's set our goals for 2025. As a business owner myself, I set these goals and I communicate with my team what those goals are, right? And we come together on those goals. So we can't do this alone, whether you're a small company or you're $1 million, $2 million company. You can't do it on your own, and you have to have some help, right? And so the first part of that is you got to set a goal in order to be able to accomplish that goal, right? And so here's a great quote from Tony Robbins: "Setting goals is the first step in turning the invisible to the visible." All right. So here's a framework I use for setting goals. My coaches have taught me this over the year. I got an amazing business coach. We obviously, going into January, right? We have all these hopes and dreams and ambitions and everything like that, but many of us don't put it on paper. And then we don't work it backwards. So we set that goal for the year. Hey, we want to be a $2 million company this year, right? Well, what does that look like from a quarterly basis? What does it look like from a monthly basis? Okay. And then break it down into smaller, and then talk about it on a regular basis. If you don't talk about it, you don't track it, then that goal just becomes a flyer in the wall. You might as well put it in the drawer and not open it up. Okay. So also, when you do goal setting, make sure you set yourself a reward or consequence for not hitting that goal. I'll tell you that about 3 years ago, I set a goal of growing my company, and that goal was a revenue target. And my reward that I set for it was we were going to put an in-ground pool in our house. And the reason why that was important to me is because I have 4 kids, and I wanted to make sure as my kids grow, I know where they're at, right? And so what did I do? I set that goal, but I also communicated with my kids. I printed off pictures of these pools and I put it above my desk, so you can bet that every time my kid came into my room, my office, they're going to say, "Dad, when are we going to put that pool in?" Right? You don't have to make those big of goals, or those big of items, right? But set a goal and make sure you are getting people to help hold you accountable there. Okay. All right. So what goals you should look at for 2025? Obviously, look at the revenue from a yearly standpoint. Look at the revenue and break that down by a monthly standpoint. And then look at the average transaction, average job size that you have. If you're only mitigation, obviously it's going to be 4,000, 4,500, depending on where you're at and what the billing is there. If it's rebuilds, obviously you get there's a lot more that goes into that, right? And then work the numbers backward on how many jobs it's going to take you to achieve those goals. So by the end of this exercise, you should know that when you work everything backwards, here's an example, right? So let's say I want to be a $1.5 million company this year, right? On average, I want to do 125 in revenue. My average job size is 3,500 to 6,000. I know each month that's the job totals I need to be able to get to that number. Okay. And knowing this allows you to focus on what you need to do to be able to get you there, what sort of visibility aspects you need to work on, what relationships you need to build with plumbers or insurance agents, property managers, and so it gives you the ability to reverse that backwards. Okay. So this is an example. I do have a calculator here that will kind of give you the ability to kind of plug those numbers in that I'm going to share with you at the end here. But you can work the numbers backwards and even look at your close rate on it to see, yeah, I need to get 60 phone calls a month to make sure I get 37 jobs this month, and so on and so forth. So, I'm not a numbers person, I'm not an accounting person, but these are the numbers you have to know in order to be able to not just say, I want to hit 1.5, but actually turn it into actionable steps. Okay. So let's plan our projects for 2025. If you didn't get a chance to write down those numbers, do that after the webinar, please. I ask you to please do those goal setting. And then if you have a team, share that with your leadership team, so that way you guys can be all on the same page. Some of the things that we talked about here in this webinar are I have a list of those here. Okay. Feel free to take a screenshot of that. But again, you're going to have a recording after this. For example, if you go and you do that test I asked you to do on your mobile phone, is it easy for somebody to call you, right? If it's not, that's the first thing I would solve on your website. If your address is not on your Google business profile, that's the first thing I would solve on that. If you are not doing some social media posts, start with one a week or maybe two a month. Start somewhere with it. If you're not running Google Local Services ads, watch the webinar that I did, find out how to sign up for it and sign up for that service and test it out in your space, right? These are all things that you can focus on, and these things on this list will absolutely get you in a position where you can get 10 to 20 opportunities coming in from online marketing each month, okay? So what I would ask for you to do is to pick 3 things to focus on over the next 3 months. Pick 3 things, and if you knock these off, then add more into it. But take out a piece of paper, if you would, please, and maybe just write down one of them. What is one thing I want to check into or I want to do? I'd love for, if in the chat, if somebody has something in mind that they want to look into, share it in the chat. If you have something that you're going to work on, the first thing you're going to work on, if you wouldn't mind sharing that in the chat there. Jason, I know you had some questions there. What's the number one thing you're going to work on? Or Mark? Reviews. Yep. Reviews are critical. Nice. Joshua, thanks for sharing that. Yeah, reviews are a big component. Jason, look in the Google guaranteed. Yep. Jason, how many reviews do you have on your Google Maps profile? 25. Okay, great starting point, man. And if you look at where your competitors are at in the space, again, don't be afraid. Don't be worried if they have, double or triple that. You just want to make sure you're getting that three or four reviews per month in there. One thing I didn't talk about on the reviews is, yes, getting reviews from clients is important. Do not go out and buy reviews. You're gonna get yourself in trouble. Don't go out and buy reviews. What you can do is, if there's people in a networking group, you can, if they know you and they can vouch for you, they can submit a review for you, right? Somebody at church, maybe they know you and they know you want to grow your business and they trust you. They can submit a review and say, hey, these guys will help you out. They don't even have to say that the reviews don't have to come from just your clients. So just be creative with that. Vicky, thanks for sharing that. Getting more reviews. Yep. Perfect. Social media. Okay, great. So hopefully everybody had a chance to write down a couple items here that they're going to focus on. And then also make sure you put in there next to each one of those items who you're going to get to help you to do that. If you don't have the time, the worst thing you can do is set these goals, set a checklist of things you want to do, and then that paper just goes by the wayside and nothing moves forward. So put a name next to that, whether it's somebody on your team, whether it's your spouse, or whether it's a company you're going to reach out to, like our company or another company out there, or you're already working with somebody. Just go ahead and put a name next to it, and make sure you have some accountability for that out there. Okay. So love this quote by Thomas Jefferson. I use this all the time when I reference these goal setting. Never put off until tomorrow what you can do today. It's so true. We all have so many things on our plate that get us distracted. With 4 kids myself, I'm constantly distracted, but don't use that as an excuse to not get 3 things done over the next 30 and 60 days. Okay. Today's webinar again was about 3 key aspects of success: visibility, branding, and reputation. We'll have a replay of this. As I shared with you before, this absolutely works. This is exactly what we do for our clients, and you can see the results here on this case study. Okay. You can see the results on this case study. So now it's time to put it into practice. And just think about what this would mean for you, for your company, for your team, for your family, right? So if you're looking for a situation where you want help, these are some of the clients we've helped. Again, this is not a pitch fest here, but if you want to have a call with me, you want to understand where you're at and what you should focus on, these are all the aspects that we can absolutely help you with. Schedule a 30-minute call with me. Be happy to chat with you. I'll give you everything that I would recommend. And if it makes sense for us to work together, absolutely, I'd love to work together with you. But to be honest, we don't work with every single person that we talk with, and I'll give you some homework to do if that's the case. So if you'd like to work with us or you'd like to have a conversation, go to restorationmarketing.com/calendar, where you can give us a call at this number here. For the resources I talked with you about, you can go to this link here. It's restorationmarketing.com/2025. And I'm going to, excuse me, I'm going to put that in the chat here. Now's the time for you to ask questions. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing the screen. But if you have questions about your specific situation, feel free to post those questions in the chat and I'll absolutely answer those. But I'm going to get that link for you here in just a second. If I can figure out how to work slideshow. Okay. All right. So here is the link where you can download those resources. Yeah, Joshua, no problem. Thanks for joining, man. So there's the link where you can download those resources. And if you want to schedule a call with me, you can do that on that page, or you can, I posted the same link. You can also go to this page to schedule a meeting. All right, so for those left here, any questions that you have on your profile, on your visibility, on anything we talked about today? Yeah, Jason, no problem, man. Brittany, the link, when you go to, you're going to get an email reminder or an email follow-up with this, and it will have links to download those. But if you go to restorationmarketing.com/2025, all those resources will be on that page. Okay. Any questions from anybody? No problem, Mark. No problem, Vicky. Absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you for the kudos. I do appreciate that. I hope you got some value out of this. And most importantly, write down those 3 things that you're going to work on for your company, and put a name to who you're going to work with on that, whether it's yourself or your team, and take action. Please take action. And I really hope you guys have success in 2025. Again, if you'd like to schedule a session with me, you can go to restorationmarketing.com/2025 to get those resources and the schedule there. Absolutely. Yep. Okay. Thanks, everybody. That will be the end of the webinar. I appreciate you hanging out all the way through. Oh, Brittany, you do have a question. Yeah, go for it. Yeah, Brittany, schedule a call with me. We can definitely talk. Yeah, we can absolutely do that, Brittany. Just schedule a call with me. Usually what happens on those calls is I'll do some pre-research on your company, on your visibility beforehand. But ultimately, I just want to learn a little bit more about your situation, the goals you're trying to accomplish, because it's not a cookie cutter approach depending on the size of your company or those goals you're trying to accomplish. So we can absolutely talk about those. Awesome. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining, and appreciate your feedback and everything along the way here. So again, go to restorationmarketing.com/2025. You can watch the replay that should be up tomorrow, the next day, and then also download those resources. So have an amazing day.